John, go ahead and turn your Bibles to John chapter 6. We're going to start with verse 5. Then Jesus lifted up his eyes, and seeing a great multitude coming toward him, he said to Philip, "Where shall we buy bread that these may eat?" But this he said to test him, for he himself knew what he would do. Philip answered, 200 denarii worth of bread is not sufficient for them, that every one of them may have a little bit. 200 denarii, in Matthew 20, verse 2, it talks about a denarii was a day's worth of wages. So it'd be like 200 days of labor. If you're working minimum wage, it's about $25,000 today. So he said even $25,000 would not be enough to give them just a little bit. And then one of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said to him, "There is a lad here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 small fish, but what are they among so many?" Then Jesus said, "Make the people sit down." Now there was much grass in the place, so the men sat down in number of about 5,000. Now you guys know the story, right? The rest of it, Jesus multiplies the bread, they feed the multitude, and there's still bread left over. But what I want to show you here is that your abundance, like if they had 25 grand to spend on bread, it would have given them just a little bit. When Jesus takes you a little bit, it's abundance for the 5,000. Do you guys see that? And I think we can look at it and say, I just got a little bit of compassion. All I got to offer is comfort, right? I don't have any deep revelations. It's just a little bit. My faith doesn't stretch far. All I can believe for is for my home, right? I don't even have the faith for my city or my nation, whatever. God will take you a little bit and multiply it. There'll be an abundance for those who are around you. But it's interesting that there was a lad with 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. It's 5,000 men, right? Let's say there were women included, so over 5,000 people. There's got to be more than one boy who brought snacks with him, right? Statistically, there must have been more people with food, but he was the only one that came forth. And if I was one of those 5,000 and we walked far, I planned ahead, I brought snacks, everybody else just kind of jumped out of the boat and went, I would have been like, hey, I'm going to eat this quietly. Like, this is my provision from the Lord. God gave me the wisdom to bring food, and I'm not going to, make them have to struggle with jealousy. What was the intention of the little boy to bring the food to Jesus? There's nothing in here that implies he said, Jesus, here's food you can multiply. But he knew the crowd was hungry, and he brings it to Jesus. Why? Simply to bless. It was to provide for Jesus and potentially his disciples, right? So this little boy says, the little bit that I have, I'm going to bring it and lay it at the feet of God. And that's where the miracle starts. There would be no miracle if the little boy was just like everybody else, which I don't know, but I could almost guarantee there must have been somebody there with food, a little bit, even if it was 2 loaves or whatever it was. But it was the boy who was willing to take the little bit that he had and bring it to the Lord that saw the miracle of multiplication. And what we're living in today is there needs to be an activation of faith where you take the little bit that you have and you lay it before the Lord. You don't wait until a greater level of maturity. You don't wait to be generous until you have a lot of money. You don't wait to serve until you have free time. You don't wait to disciple somebody until you have everything doctrinally figured out line by line. You don't wait to evangelize until you have proven yourself and somehow that you're somehow worthy to present the gospel to somebody. You don't wait. You just step out with the little bit that you have. And what's going to happen for you, church, is I believe that God's going to do mighty things, but it's not going to be overnight. And a lot of people get discouraged at the process of little by little. But I'm telling you, church, great things are coming, and I can tell you how to get there, but I cannot tell you how to get there overnight. We have to be willing to take the little bit that we have and share it. If God gave you a truth, if you have just a simplicity of the gospel, you can share it. If you don't have the courage to share the gospel, you know what you can do? You can encourage somebody. You can say, hey, God bless you. And that's where you're at. Start there. Start there. And it's those who are willing to start and offer up to the Lord the little bit that they have, they shall see the increase in their life. What happens when you feel like that what you have, the gifts that you got, the life circumstances that you were handed, the relationships that are in your life are small and insignificant, right? Maybe, hey, you're in Alfred, okay? You're not in the front lines of what's happening in this nation in the natural sense, right? There's a little bit there. What happens when you devalue it is you waste it. If the little boy said, hey, this is so small, it has no value to anyone except for me, I'm just going to eat it, and it will keep me, okay until supper time. You eat, as we talked about a few weeks ago, you'll eat the seed when you devalue what you have. If you devalue the faith that is in your heart, you're going to eat it and waste it instead of investing it. You will spend it on your own needs. In Luke 17, 3-6, the apostle said to the Lord, increase our faith. So this is in the context of, he says, if a brother sins against you, forgive him. And if you've sinned against you 7 times, forgive him. And the response of the apostles is increase our faith. So the Lord said, if you have faith as a mustard seed, you can say to this mulberry tree, be pulled up by the root and be planted in the sea, and it will obey you. A little bit of faith can go a long way. Now, Jesus didn't say, you guys need to have mighty faith, and then you will be able to do these mighty things. He said, the smallest seed, if you have the smallest amount of faith, you can see this. It doesn't take, and this sometimes as Christians, we get caught up on I need to grow my faith, I need to grow my faith. It's true, but you need to start using the little bit that you have. And until you start using the mustard seed faith, you cannot have something bigger. And for some of you guys, what I want to tell you is the mustard seed that you have is enough to move the mountains in your life. It's enough. The mustard seed faith that you got, if you're willing to believe it, it's enough to move the mountains in your life. Now, this mustard seed, it was actually earlier on that Jesus made reference to it in Matthew 13, verse 31. When he said, another parable he put forth to them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, which a man took and sowed in his field, which indeed is the least of all the seeds, but when it is grown, it is greater than the herbs and becomes a tree. So the birds of the air come and nest in its branches. The kingdom of God is like a mustard seed that has been invested by planting it. We plant it by giving it unto the Lord. Oftentimes, that's going to involve other people. It's going to look like service to other people. Mustard seed faith, small faith, is anything, and this is not like a theological definition, but this is how I'm processing it from God. Mustard seed faith level is the things that we need from God. If God has said, I will be your provider, and if you seek me first, I will meet all your needs, for us to believe what he said, for us to believe what he wrote in his word, and for us to trust in the most trustworthy one that has ever existed is mustard seed faith, okay? That's a very low portion of faith. So if you need to believe for that, the little bit of faith that you have is good enough. The growing faith is when you can believe so that you're enough for somebody else, right? That's when I can become an encouragement to those around me. That's when I can become a source of provision to those around me. That's when I am a place and a source for those to come and receive from the Lord through me. You know what great faith is? I think great faith is suffering for the Lord. Great faith today isn't for those who came to church here. It's for those who are in other countries who are meeting in basements on cold concrete floors because they are in danger for their life. That's great faith. Great faith is suffering for the Lord. And I think if we're want to walk in great faith, it comes with great sacrifices. Because it's not about us. If your faith is all about getting, that's little faith. When a child, and all God expects for little faith is gratitude. For great faith, there's suffering. For little faith, whenever my child asks for something, the only thing I expect from them when they're young is gratitude. The only thing I teach them is how to say thank you. As they get older, I expect them to put labor and suffering into what they're trying to achieve. So a little bit of God, a little bit faithfulness with a little bit of what God is doing in your life. And I believe in this season, God is stirring and God is awakening. And for those who respond, even in small ways, they're going to see tremendous impact. They're going to see tremendous growth when they look back on this season. For those who simply say, hey, like God is convicting me to do this verse a day type of thing or something like that, and it's so small, it's so insignificant, I'm going to blow it off, I think you're missing out on the very thing that God is trying to do. But just like a little bit can change, a little bit of God can change your life, a little bit of the enemy can destroy your life. Just a little bit of compromise can also destroy you. So the enemy says, hey, it's just a little bit, don't worry about it. The God says, hey, it's just a little bit, you need to pay attention. It's just a little bit of faith that you got, you need to pay attention. You need to release it. You need to be obedient with it. Just a little bit of sin. Acceptable sins, right? It's I know we don't have any acceptable sins, but sometimes we live as a culture as though there are such things. Jealousy. Do you guys know that jealousy is a sin? It says in Proverbs 14:30 that envy or jealousy is rottenness to the bones. That is a bad place to have something decaying. Jealousy, gossip, lying, or not keeping your word. That's one of the things that God's been convicting me of, is especially in pastoral ministry, to be very careful with what I promise, because it's easy to say, let's meet, and then you look at your schedule and you got like one opening. So you got to be careful with your words, being someone who keeps your word, who allows their yes to be yes, their no to be no. Pride, lust, the greatest lie of the enemy, and it can be the greatest struggle and stumbling block for the Christian, is the little things that don't make a big impact in the short term. But it's a warning in some sense of the little things, just like the little things of God will propel you, the little things of the enemy will destroy you. In Exodus 23, verse 29, we read, I will not drive them out from before you in 1 year, lest the land become desolate and the beasts of the field become too numerous for you. Little by little I will drive them out from before you, until you have increased and you have inherited the land. J.R. Tolkien wrote, little by little one travels far. And what I have found is typically how God works. It's little by little. It's faithfulness with small things. And why? Because He cares about the person that you become more than what you can do for Him. And He, in the process, if He has you in the process of little by little, embrace what He is doing and be faithful with the little. In Luke 16:10, it says, he who is faithful in what is least is faithful also in much. And he who is unjust in what is least is unjust also in much. A lot of our life change, life progress is actually a lot of small habits. And for us, we become developed as a person through the little changes that happen in life. And when God could pour out, you can say, why hasn't God done such and such yet? Why hasn't He done this? Because He's developing you as a person. And sometimes the blessing itself can be a harmful thing more than a hurtful thing. As we see with lottery winners, a lot of them end up broke because you don't have the skills to manage that which you have received. And for us as a church right now, it's time to rise up and step out in faith with a little bit that you got. It is time to step out with a little bit. And this little bit isn't with the motivation of God increasing it. I believe God is looking for those who go before Him and saying, God, this is all I have. So like, these are my gifts. This is my personality. This is my situation. These are my finances. And I just lay it before you. In any way that you want to use me, I'll lay it before you. It's not coming and saying, God, I'm bringing you a little bit and I'm expecting to receive an increase in the future, like an investment. I think we come and we pour it out. As in Matthew, when it spoke of Mary in chapter 26, verse 10, Mary came and she poured out oil on Jesus to anoint him. And he says, but Jesus, and so the disciples complained why it was wasted. It says, but when Jesus was aware of it, he said to them, why do you trouble the woman? For she has done a good work for me. For you have the poor with you always, but me you do not have always. For in pouring this fragrant oil on my body, she did it for my burial. Surely I say to you, whatever this gospel is preached in the whole world, what this woman has done will also be told as a memorial to her. She didn't do it to be remembered. She did it to bless the Lord. And the little things that you guys have, we don't give it to the Lord for some sort of an expectation. We give it to the Lord because it's a blessing to Him. We invest ourselves, we give of ourselves, so it's a blessing, an investment into who He is. So let me ask you, church, the little boy had 5 little loaves. What do you have in your bag? What do you have in your bag? What's the 5 little loaves that you got? If you're a big shot today, I'm sorry, maybe you have a lot of loaves in your bag. But for a lot of us, we just have little loaves. What are they? What do you have in your bag that you can come and lay before the Lord and see what He does for it for His glory? Not so that you can have an abundance, but so that others can be fed. And if you're willing to take that little bit and release it, you're going to see other people's lives changed. You're going to see other people's lives blessed. John Maxwell said, small disciplines repeated with consistently lead to a great achievement. And we as a church, it's time for us to rise up and utilize the little bit that you have. And I believe it's for those who have a little bit of faith that God has been stirring for you to see healings, it's time to rise up and start praying for them. For those who have a little bit of faith that came up here to see their family saved, it's time to not just simply pray in your closets, it's time to go and talk to them about the gospel. For those who God is saying you need to invest a little bit of time, it's time to go and invest that time in the kingdom. And this is a quick message, but it is an important message because I also want to leave time for something that we're going to do. And Ken, you can come up. But the point is a releasing of that which God has put inside of you. And today what I want to do is I want you guys to assess what's in your bag, and we're going to release it today. For some of you, you have hope for the future. You need to release that on somebody else. For some of you guys, you're carrying the little bit of testimony that's in your bag. You need to release that on somebody else and see what God does. For some of you guys, you're carrying a revelation. You need to release that. You need to value it and release it unto the Lord, and so that it blesses Him and somebody else around you. So I want us to close with that, where I'm just going to send you guys out to release a little bit of faith that you have. If you have faith for someone to be healed, you need to go out and ask them. Find someone who's sick. When you meet with them, ask them if they know the Lord. So I'm going to ask you guys to stand with me. Oh, sure. Yeah, so Maria was saying I should share a little testimony. This past week, I had lunch with some students, and we were walking by. Is William here? All right, he's right there. All right, there he is. There's my brother. So we were having dinner together, actually, and we were leaving, and there was a friend, Alisa, and who was on crutches and the brace. So William was talking to her, asking her what happened. She was kicked by a horse multiple times, and I guess mostly tissue damage. I don't think there was any bone damage. But we ended up praying for her together, and simple prayer, 30 seconds, prayed over her knee, and I get up, and she's like, that's a placebo effect, right? Because beforehand she said it was like the pain was 8 out of 10, and afterwards, like it was totally gone. I mean, 0. And she's like, yeah, it's like a placebo effect, but I seriously don't feel it. And I'm like, well, try it out. Like put some weight on it, see if you can move it around a little bit, and it was completely gone. And yeah. And I came home and told Maria the story, and she was like, wow, you must have did you feel like a really strong faith to go and do that? And I was like, no, I didn't feel anything special. I just prayed for her, and the Lord did it. And I want you guys to know you don't have to feel something special to go out and pray for somebody and see the power of God fall on their life. So I want to release you guys right now to go and find somebody and they release your little bit of faith. Ask them, what's your little bit of faith? And then release it together. So go ahead and mingle. Find somebody in the back. Find somebody on the left, on the right. Don't be afraid to move around a little bit. But find somebody and say, what is in your bag? What is your little faith? And how can we release it today together?